I'd just like to point out
That was good. He
that
said
for the
live.
first time ever, and we've been doing this for going on almost 2 years, we've had a producer, Luds, that asked us if we were ready and then said, okay, clicking it, and we're live. How nice is that?
Sounds like this guy's fairly professional.
It sounds like this guy wants a raise or a tip or something. Tanner
Let's
is
just
in
stick
for
around.
Ryan today, and we have never been so well treated. Sorry, Ryan. Sorry, John.
I'm not sorry,
Elijah.
Ryan. Making us
Not
do
sorry.
ad reads. You taking a day off.
All right.
Slacker.
Let's start it. We got a lot to get to on a Wednesday here on DLLS. Welcome, everybody, to the DLLS Stars podcast on Wednesday. It's April 1st, and no, we're not playing the fools today. We just are like this every day. Before we get into everything with Craig Ludwig, Sam Nestler, our producer today, Tanner Rotman filling in for Ryan Vaughters. I'm Owen Newkirk. But before we get into all of that, do you know, you should by now if you're regular fans of our show, that the DLLS opening day gear is on sale right now. 2 new DLLS baseball hoodies, a t-shirt, and 2 new additions to the DLLS hat collection. Sam is wearing a different one right now, but is wearing a DLLS hat. That is, as Luds calls it, the Cadillac hat.
Yes.
The crest, the ferns, the logo, branded bills, all the fun. Look at that. So get those today. Go to our website, alldlls.com. And while you're at it, hit the like button, that thumbs up, give us a subscribe. Support our show. We always appreciate it. Okay. Let's get into it. My opening statement today to Sam and Luds. Can we just get to the gosh darn playoffs right now?
No, not right now.
Why not?
Because there's something like 3-5-2 or something. This is not the perfect time. It's not the ideal time to head into the playoffs, but there's plenty of time. Not plenty of time, but there's time for them to get their game closer to what they need it to be heading into the playoffs. Because right now it's hit and miss, and it's kind of like an old car that's kind of chugging up and down the road. It gets you there, but you're not sure if you're going to get there.
You're
And you're not
celebrating
sure
every time the
when you're gonna
starter
get there.
ignites.
Like my car.
No, like you.
Well, yeah.
Forget the
Fair
car,
enough. That's
like
fair
you.
enough. That's fair enough. Whatever I'm in.
Yeah, so I don't think this is a deal. I think it's good. I don't think Gullickson and the coaching staff want them to start playoffs tomorrow. There's just too many little speed bumps going on.
The
right
reason
now.
why I said it and why we said, is it playoffs yet on the thumbnail was the Stars have an urgency problem. And when we were talking about it, we had a good conversation about this on the postgame show last night. So if you haven't checked it out yet, last night's game, Stars lose to the Bruins in Boston. And we had a pretty good discussion of Dallas is having trouble matching opposition's urgency and intensity levels because of what they don't have at stake right now, Luds. Even though, to your point, getting your game right, and then to something Sam will talk about in a second, getting healthy is pretty important before you go to that first playoff game.
Well, I don't know, Sam, if you said it or somebody said it, but one of you guys asked about they've given up a goal in 8 straight games.
First goal against.
First
Like
goal.
to me,
Sam brought it up.
I knew that they were giving them up here and there, but 8 straight games, like you can't get into. You shouldn't be going into the playoffs. I mean, again, you shouldn't be going into the playoffs and have that kind of a stat line where you're giving.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, you're spotting 1-0 in every
You're
game.
chasing every game.
Like it's just not. So that's a place to start. And, that's not an X and O thing. I mean, it's not about what system they're playing and who's matching up. That's just more between the ears as a group, not individually, but as a complete group.
When you hear that stat, 8 straight first goals against, that sounds like, to me, I'm curious if you agree, more than just a fluky trend. Like,
Oh, no.
we had a bad luck, or this bounce here, or yeah, that one went in, or whatever. 8 in a row is a lot.
So just so you guys are aware, the Sam Steele scored first in the loss to Utah that ended the point streak. That's the 8 since then is what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
So they basically had their streak snapped, and since then have lacked that intensity, lost a bunch of games, and given up 8 straight in a row.
2, 5,
So
and 2?
the game coming up tomorrow. Is
Something
there
like
a
that?
game tomorrow? Yeah.
Yes.
Game tomorrow.
Game
Yeah.
every other day.
Game
Today
tomorrow.
is non-game day
It
tomorrow.
just seems like it's tonight again. But tomorrow, is that Winnipeg?
It's Winnipeg. Yep.
Yeah,
It's
another
Winnipeg.
team that's now desperate.
Well, I'm just going to say that that team, the good news, that could be a big challenge for Colorado should they get in and have to play those guys in the first round, especially what that goaltender did to a couple of key components of the Colorado Avalanche. I mean, so that might be a good thing.
I'm in on that.
But I just think it's concerning. And again, I heard very little of Gully. In fact, it was about 10, 15 seconds, and I don't even know if it was last night or today or whenever it was. But there was not a lot of optimism, and there wasn't an uplifting message that was being sent. And I went, nah, I'm not going to listen to this thing. So I don't know where it all went.
Well, we played it on the show last night.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know
then
if
no
you
wonder
tuned
I
out
only
that.
listened to about 5 seconds of it. So yeah, I do think that the coaches are probably struggling with what do we do? What can we do? How can we get, yes, it's on the players, but is there something that's missing? And again, this is what keeps coaches up at night, especially at this time of the year. Now, again, it's not the end all be all about we're not playing our best hockey right now. It all matters about game 83. But again, there's the analogy of the light switch has been around since God was a cowboy. Like, not just a light switch. So we'll see.
You know what? I brought this up to Owen right before we started recording. The interesting point on the other side of, because I saw a bunch of comments. I made the mistake, not a mistake because I wanted to do it, but I asked the fans last night where they felt the level of panic is right now and where their level of concern was. Turns out we're in hell right now.
Through the roof?
We're in hell right now.
Is the sky falling?
Everything is flaming. But the key thing I kept hearing was from the positive ones was that look what happened last year. They lost 7 in a row. They looked horrible. They had all the injuries.
But they only got halfway to their goal.
But here's the other side of it, Lutz. Not only did they only get halfway to their goal, but they needed Mikko Rantanen to be a god.
Yeah.
They needed Jake Oettinger to be a god to get through those things.
Yeah.
So to me, at least personally, I don't feel like, oh, you know what? They went in and all of a sudden they flipped the switch and were playing their best hockey. They were not playing their best hockey in the first 2 rounds. They found a way to get the win. Jake Oettinger was incredible.
Against really tough.
No, of course. And
opponents,
I'm not saying it's not impressive. It was a huge playoff series wins. I give them full credit. Just I'm not comfortable saying, you know what, they are fully ready to flip a switch and go into we're in playoff mode.
Apparently,
Piggyback
Pete
that.
DeBoer isn't religious because he doesn't think Jake was God
No.
in that 3rd round.
I don't think anyone does.
He pulled.
So, Luds,
He had God sit down.
you made the comment that they don't need the playoffs to start tomorrow because they have stuff to work on in their game. When I hear you say that, my first reaction is, okay, Luds, they have 7 games left, 5-game homestand, and then 2 games in Toronto and Buffalo to end the regular season. What kind of things are you prioritizing for getting their game back in order?
You can not win a hockey game and come out of the game feeling good about how you played, especially the way things have been going. Now, you play as close. Again, everybody says you got to play 60 minutes. You can't take 5 minutes off. It doesn't happen. There's another team over there.
Yep.
Sorry. So that doesn't happen. But I think when you're limiting quality scoring chances in front of your own net, when you're getting 2nd and 3rd chances at the other end of the rink instead of the one and dones, and yes, they're an opportunistic team and they've got some gunslingers. And I mean, for me, I thought of this. I ain't gonna tell you what time of the day it was last night or this morning, whatever. But I immediately went, and I don't know why, I went to Wyatt. And I'm like, he's got 41 goals now.
41 goals.
He's got to start scoring some 5-on-5 goals. I mean, yes, it's great that he's scoring on the power play, but you need him, or he needs to do
He did
more.
not have a lot of offensive chances.
But he's
in that
not
game.
getting the chances
No.
5-on-5.
No.
And obviously not, because there's one less player on the ice. But I think he needs to produce more 5-on-5. The power play is good, and they've got quality people out there and all that kind of good stuff.
Yep.
But I think that's one guy that has to find another level to his game. And it's interesting, like when you say, are you concerned? Like if they don't win, I'm going to tell you this right now. If they don't win, regardless if they win or not, if they give up a goal in tomorrow night's game first, I know what my first question is going to be to Jim Nill on Saturday afternoon, our little roundtable. That's what I'm leading with.
Mhm.
Are you concerned? I mean, it's a fair question. Maybe, and I'll ask Mr. Ghilardi the same question.
You
Are you
definitely
concerned?
should ask him.
I mean, I got a lot of ways to go here. I mean, this is kind of good for what we're going to do, and then it's bad for those guys.
I can't wait for
and they might not even answer it.
By the way, your homework assignment for that is to report back that panel and give us a summary.
Well, I don't know why you don't have somebody there recording the whole thing. But again, that's another story that Ryan, our producer, doesn't want to do, and Ben, our manager,
our
doesn't
GM, because that's yeah.
Anyway, no, I just think I don't want them to, because again, we can say, yeah, they won 2 rounds last year, but they won 2 rounds. Some other teams won 2 rounds too, and they went golfing, in early June. That's not the goal for this team. This isn't what this team was set up to do.
Technically, only 4 teams won 2 rounds.
Yeah,
So,
well, I'm just saying,
right.
It's not, you're not accomplishing your goal.
No.
Not with what you're doing and what Jim Nill is. And again, they tied up Jim Nill, not going to let him go to Toronto or whatever the rumor may have been or whatever. So, again, there's a certain window that's open for teams, And obviously, Tampa found their window. Florida found their window. Montreal, Philly, all these teams find their window when they win more than one. So, I just think that, and again, it's not the sky is falling, because this is a good enough team that I think in a couple of games they can get their games back. And, if they 2-3 games and put 3 games on top of each other heading into that playoff round, whether you win it or not, you feel good about your game. And you're like, you want to be able to say, we play like that, we're going to win 4 out of 7 against Minnesota.
Yep.
That's how you want to go about this.
Well, Sam, the other reason why, as much as we want to get to the playoffs and through this sort of slog of games that don't feel like Stars quite have the same, motivation is not the right word, but the incentive is because they need these 2 weeks to deal with this injury list. And Tanner, if you throw that up on the screen, it keeps getting longer. Maybe the road trip being over is a good thing because of it.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of went through these one at a time last night pregame, maybe. It just, as of right now, we are pretty much looking at maybe Tyler Myers is shorter. We haven't gotten a real timeline on him.
Yeah,
but
we
everyone
don't really know.
Everyone else is at least a week, probably more like 10 to 2 weeks, 10 days to 2 weeks. We're starting to bump up now. We have about 17 days probably till the playoffs. They're going to start on probably the 17th or 18th.
Probably that Saturday, which would be the 18th.
So 17 days to the playoffs. That's just under 3 weeks. They're going to need some of those reinforcements, and I don't know what the timeline is, because, as Led's always kind of jokes about, we get the same kind of answer over and over. And so I've started to understand that we hope he's available by then doesn't really mean anything. It's just that's the shorter end. Rope Hintz is on the shorter end of the list, where Foxa is a little bit behind him. Bunting, we're not really sure. Bastian, we're not really sure. Steele, at least a week, but also not really sure.
Now, don't you think the messaging has changed from 99.9% now?
Oh, yeah.
And that hasn't worked out well.
Yeah.
And they've probably heard, well, these guys are complaining.
Well,
I think you say this, but now they're just kind of giving you a
Yeah.
little broader
I'll bet Gully
outlook.
would have said, because we do know that Radek Fox has suffered an injury. We don't know the details of it, but we know that he suffered a different injury than the one that he was dealing with coming out of the Olympics, because at the Olympics, he didn't play against Canada in a game that he had been dreaming about playing in since he was, 9 years old. You would have assumed that if he could have played in that game for Czechia against Canada, he would have done that. So he comes back, and that's when Gully gave we're 99.9% sure that he's playing, was because of that injury. And I talked to Radek at the practice he participated in, and there was still some, he wasn't 100% sure he's playing in the next game. But then something happened, Sam.
Yep.
And we don't know exactly what, but he suffered a different injury that was unrelated to the one from the Olympics.
Yeah,
and
upper
that's
versus
really
lower.
bad luck.
Yeah, it was terrible. I mean, he was skating in optional practices and some skates, and he was fully participating.
Yep.
It almost felt like they just needed to get him cleared more so than he needed to get himself ready. And then some freak thing, he really only had a few full skates. So something happened either in one of those skates or in an optional skate with 7 or 8 people out there, and he hurt lower body. Again, we don't know what. Seen him in a boot, so you assume foot, ankle, something like that. But a totally different injury, because it's such a rehabbing is. You always never want to push the injury, right? So that's why you always hear about, is Miro skating? Is he taking contact? Because you have to be careful that you don't put him into something too fast so that they hurt it more. This wasn't that. He didn't go into something too fast and hurt it more. He went into something ready
Had a
completely different freak accident. So it's just bad luck. for Radek. And as much as he's not Mikko Rantanen, Roope Hintz or whatever in terms of offense, Jim Nill said straight up, we missed Radek Faksa last year in the playoffs. Well, as of right now, they don't have Radek Faksa this year in the playoffs either. And they need that. They need some of these guys to start coming back, but you can't underestimate the losses of guys like Steele and Faksa just because they're not your top guys. They are vital parts to this team, and we've seen what it looks like when they don't have their help either.
They missed Radek last year, but Robertson, Johnston, Bork, Duchesne, Lindell, Heiskanen, Harley, Oettinger, Casey, DeSmith. They're healthy.
Yeah.
They are.
The main one off of that one for me
24
is your centerman.
Roope Hintz.
24.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, the other ones are obviously have their roles, but if you want to find a little bit of good news is, when
look at Lud's
and you're not
being the optimist.
Well,
here.
I'm not really. I'm just playing.
You feeling okay over there?
Yeah. Actually, I'm keep checking my thing to see how much time we got left. And we're done. I have a big weekend.
Save it up, Lud. Save up the energy.
But I mean that if you want to look for something, those guys are healthy. And we need them to be healthy from tomorrow night all the way on. Yes, the other players always have their part in any kind of a team, but on that list, and Tyler, I mean, you mentioned Tyler saying, but that one that's been written off for a while.
Yep.
So you're living life without him, and they've found a way to play without him at least in this part of the year. But it could be worse. Let's just put it that way.
I mean, look at last year.
Could be worse.
Last year we were sitting here waiting every single day of is Miro going to play? Is Jason Robertson going to play? That's your leading scorer and your best player, maybe at least your best defenseman. So it's definitely better. And Roope Hintz, as Lud said, you want all these guys back, but if you're to pick one guy, say be ready for game one, having Roope back seems the most important part of that list.
And so much of the playoffs, yes, 5-5 is important, but it's special teams and goaltending.
Yeah.
Right. And so one of those elements, I believe, is still in the top two is the power play. And would Hintz make it better? Absolutely. But they've found a way to make that work without him. So that's the good news. And then obviously Otter's got to, be at the top of his game. So you get Roope back in there and, and again, then you're feeling a little, not that you're feeling bad, but you got your top guys that are playing and you're not without one of those guys, at least now.
So all of that.
I mean, wrap them in bubble wrap right to game 83.
All of that, getting your game right, getting healthy, all things to play for. I have one more thing, and we'll talk about it on the other side of the break. What do the Stars have to play for in the next 7 games here on DLLS?
There are plenty of sporting events and other events coming up here in 2026. The FIFA World Cup coming to Dallas, the Stanley Cup Playoffs, the NBA Playoffs, baseball starting. We got comedy shows, concerts touring this summer, all kinds of cool stuff. And guess what? If you want the easiest and simplest way to get tickets, you got to go to Game Time. Game Time makes it so simple because they lay everything out right there in front of you. Zone deals, view from your seat. I went to the Miami Hurricanes football game last year, and I got to zoom in, see my seat, and pan around to make sure I wasn't surrounded by too many of the visiting or home team fans, so I wasn't going to get yelled at. It makes it really easy for you to see it, and it's all upfront pricing, no hidden fees or anything like that. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to every type of event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code DLLS for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Wild Fork Foods. I don't even know where to start with these guys. They are fantastic. We had a tasting at the Louisville location, and the DLS Stars crew was out there. We had some amazing food out in the parking lot with the whole crew. But then I got to go inside and do some personal shopping for Super Bowl Sunday, and it was crazy. I thought I'd be overwhelmed because they have so many selections, but they made it simple, and their amazing staff walked me around and talked me through every single option that I was thinking. Swedish meatballs, a little chocolate lava cake for dinner or for dessert, and some wings that were just incredible. And guess what? They were so simple. Took them out of the freezer, threw them in the air fryer. Boom, they're cooked. In-laws thought they were amazing, and they thought that I cooked them myself, which I definitely lied and said I did. Frozen is fresher at Wild Forks Foods Meat and Seafood Market. Everything is the best with them. 9 area DFW locations. Go to wildforkfoods.com.
All right, one more thing to add from our conversation from last segment, and then we'll move on to some other fun things. You guys talked about getting their game right on the ice and getting the injury situation improved as much as they can. There's one more thing. Home ice advantage in the first round. They still have it, but here's the current situation. So check out the standings, the top 3. 8-point lead for Colorado. They have 2 games in hand. It's not mathematically impossible. I'm willing to write that one off. Do you agree that Colorado's won?
Yes.
That's gone.
Yes.
I mean, it's not mathematically done, but it's done, right? For Minnesota, they have a game in hand. They have 8 games left. Dallas has 7, and they're 6 points behind the Stars. I also wanted you to look at the far right where it says regulation wins. Dallas has a big gap in regulation wins. That's the tiebreaker. So technically, guys, Dallas needs, their magic number is 11 points, either points that they win or that Minnesota drops. Any combination of 11, and you don't even have to worry about tiebreakers. But based on that tiebreaker, it's probably 10. And they do play Minnesota in Dallas one more time. And the Wild do not have an easy schedule rolling in. In fact, if you look at their games, they have one easy one. They play tomorrow at home against Vancouver. Then they're at Ottawa and at Detroit in a back-to-back. They have 2 back-to-backs left.
Ottawa's a dumpster fire, too.
But you never know.
All 3 of those teams might be done.
That's true. Then they play home against Seattle, which is, we'll talk about a little bit later, still alive in the playoff race. Then in Dallas, then at Nashville, a playoff team right now, at St. Louis, we'll see where they are by then, and then home against the Ducks.
Yeah, you got maybe 2 teams that are good teams out of that. So, but here's the other thing about them. So Dallas's last 10, they're 3-5-2. Minnesota's 4-5-1. They're both in the same boat, pretty much, from how they're both playing right now.
Is Colorado going to start doing that too? Are you going to see a little bit from them?
No,
you don't think so.
The way
Did you see what happened against Calgary
their last
tonight?
2 or 3 games?
Calgary.
They're different right now. They seem to be. They flip some kind of switch, and they may have gone through their little bump. I don't know who they've got left, but
you want to know?
Not really, but I mean, I truly don't care about them, to be honest with you right now. I just think that they look. I think Kadri's settled into where he was there the first time. That makes a huge difference. He's not a winger. When they put him in the middle of the ice, it makes a difference on that team, and regardless who they play. Natchez is playing like ridiculously well, and he has since he got there. But he's playing at a different level. I think anything that's happened from them, they're putting it in the rearview mirror and they're starting to come along. They're 2 goalies when it comes to numbers are in the top 4.
Yes,
I mean
they've both had good
Wedgie's
years.
up there, Blackwood's in 3rd or 4th, and goals. So they seem to be putting it together right now. But again, they could run into a hot team. I mean, who knows who that is going to be? And if that is Winnipeg, there's a goaltender there that did some bad things to those guys in the Olympics, and don't think a couple of those guys don't remember that. So you never know what could happen. So Dallas just, for this team here, just take care of what's in front of you. Whatever happens. But yeah, they've got to find a little bit more chemistry and little flow in Dallas's game, and again, and that goes for the goaltending and all parts of their team.
Do you think this duo in front of me, Johnston and Rantanen, is the right answer?
I'm pointing at
you. I'm like, what? Like the 3 guys? I'm going to say, no, the 3 guys in front of us on the screen are definitely not the right answer.
No. The bobbleheads. You think those are the right pairing? Their numbers haven't been very good, and you just mentioned why.
No, when you say pairing, what do you mean by pairing?
Like on the same line?
I think what happens there, what you're seeing is they're starting somebody else there, then they go to them when they need a goal.
Yeah.
That's what and again, you're putting all your eggs in one basket right now. So, I mean, that's what Gully's trying to do. Gully's trying to do whatever he can to get the feely, the good feels kind of happening. I just think the best guy for me that I think where Robo has the most success inside the zone in those pockets and those holes is Hintz. Because when Hintz transports the puck across the offensive blue line as a defenseman, all you see is that bolt of lightning or that smoke coming off his feet. And you back off. And you don't want to get stood up and have him dance around you. And so you naturally kind of said, we got to give this guy a little bit more space. And Robo, we know, can't keep up with them. He can't keep
he
up
doesn't
with
want
them.
to either.
So Robo comes in behind all
Yeah.
that. He comes in between the forwards that are supposed to be coming back, and then that's where his spot is, because then he gets that puck around the top of the circle just below with a little bit of space. He can score from there. So to answer your question, I guess when Hintz is back, that seems to be it. But
That's
then
the
we're
duo.
back to, again, who's the third guy that complements the pairs again?
Yep.
You know, so
Well,
you
I
got-
asked that because I have the stats here of expected goals for all the lines this year, and the second best line overall only played 60 minutes together. Ritzkovian, Johnston, Rantanen.
Yeah, they barely played before the
68%
injury.
expected goals. That's the line. That's your line, I think.
but
once
then-
they're healthy enough to actually put Ritzkovian up.
yeah,
there.
because Ritzy does all that other stuff, right?
Yeah.
He's the prickly thing in the
Yeah.
grass.
But
the
they
other
need,
two,
they need Foxa or Steele to get
Yes,
healthy.
that's the key. Is they
so
don't
they
have
can
the ability.
have some. I mean, the team loaded in centers.
Yep.
They need to have one of those guys to be the third line center if they're going to have, or technically, yeah, because if you're going to have, well,
I think you're wanting
Okay, hold on,
Ritzkovian, Johnston, Rantanen.
if you have
Hintz,
Hintz
Bork.
back,
Robertson,
then
Hintz, Bork.
Duchesne can be the third line
Yes.
center, and then you're fine.
see, for me, Ritzkovian is more noticeable, more effective when he's a winger than he is a centerman. Just for me,
I agree with you.
I think it's because he agitates more and he's
He
digging
has a little
along
more
the
leash.
walls and he's doing things in the corners and he gets himself out, and there is more responsibility for the centerman, especially coming back into your own zone. You're supposed to be the guy back. You're supposed to be working, with your defenseman when you're not playing the famous man-on-man system. So there is more responsibility that way. So it is easier to play on the walls and just post up on the walls and be there for an outlet pass and those kind of things.
What I kind of have to bring this up real quickly. In the chat, somebody asked, I want to make sure I give them the proper shout out if I can find it now. Ardell, are we allowed to have concerns about Harley?
About who?
Thomas Harley, 55.
Yes. He's played really, really good for me for a period of time this year. Unfortunately, that period of time was in February. He wasn't wearing a Dallas
red
Stars.
sweater.
So
and a little bit after that, right?
Yeah,
he
and
did have a
again,
little carryover.
But by having a
not
supporting
much.
cast around him, it makes everybody look better. So, but yeah, he has not been the same guy he was a year ago when he kind of took charge of everything. I think he's doubting himself in his own zone sometimes. He gets on the outside of coverage in front of his net. It's sometimes I think he's trying to do more to get himself out of what's ever going on, and a lot of times when that's not working, you're just digging a little bit deeper.
How much do you think that is Harley not being on the top power play?
I don't think that this is not that issue for me, because I think if you haven't come to terms, we've been hitting that drum for a while, right? But if you can't come to terms that number 4 is going to be your number 1 power play guy, then you got to move on.
I don't mean it in a sulking way.
Well, that's the only way he's going to get there is if Merrill's not there.
What I mean is that when Miro got hurt last year against Vegas, Thomas got elevated, and then of course the Four Nations really did him well, and he rode that into not only a great rest of the season but also a contract and all that, and he was really good. I don't mean he might be sulking because he's not getting the power play minutes. I'm just curious, do you think it affects his 5-on-5 game because he knows he's not going to get substantial power play time, where sometimes, hey, you'll add points to that, or it has a sort of a cumulative effect?
No, I think what affects his 5-on-5 game is there's 5 players out there playing against him. When you're on the power play and everybody's just sitting back and there's only 4 guys out there, it's very easy to get from your zone into this zone and then get set up. So his defending, his not playing one-on-ones properly, being off the line when he should have the gap. I don't worry about Thomas from the standpoint of getting the puck behind the net, getting his head up and making the first pass. I don't do that. But I think sometimes when he doesn't defend well, the next time he gets the puck, he kind of wants to make up for it at times to beat somebody and do a little bit more. And unfortunately, sometimes that doesn't work. But for the most part, it usually does. But I think I think he needs to want to be a really good two-way defenseman, because right now, if you're asking me from a pairing standpoint, I mean, again, now it's hard to say again because you got Myers out, but before they took Myers out of the lineup, I still don't understand why you took him out. Now he can't seem to recover, and now he's hurt. But you took him out of the lineup. I thought that was your number 2 pair. from a 5-on-5 game.
The law firm?
I think, I thought the law firm was number 2 because I thought that, and nothing against Nils, but I thought those guys did such a good job in their own zone, defending in front of the net, using their reach, being physical. Now, Myers has gotten caught 3 times now that I remember him kind of turning and missing somebody, and he's got to recover back. But anyway, from a physical standpoint and just having to play against it, if you're on the other side of that and seeing these two big mountains when they play like that, and I think they can take time for Miro on the PK. They can get out there and they can kill. Now, again, that kind of finishes, that lands on Bischel being better on the PK. But I look like I showed you guys like last night, and it doesn't matter what the stat says for one game. But Miro and Essa, Miro is number 3 in the league. Number 3 in the league this season in minutes played. Essa, I believe, is number 16 in minutes played. And I think it's showing. And I think one thing you can do for sure is if you can get Myers, I don't care, Myers, Lyubushkin, Harley, whoever, Bischel, if you can get them to take some of those minutes from Miro off of the PK, because frankly, he's not interested in getting hit with a puck out there. He's not going to get in a shot lane. Is he good? Yeah, he's adequate out there, but I think there's a way that somebody else can chew those minutes up. And I would like to see Essa get a couple minutes off. I think you have to be able to trust a couple other guys that can go out there, because that way when you're going through a playoff round and you want those 2 guys out there against the McKinnons, they're going to be out there against Boldy and Kaprizov. And so you want them to be rested to play against those guys. And if you're playing them all the time on the PK, I just think that hurts their 5-on-5 side of things of being able to defend those kind of players, especially when you're in your own in your zone, and where they like to live is in the offensive zone, and they can pass the puck and they can skate. Minnesota's got a really good top line.
Yes.
And they got some quality players there. So, you're going to have to be good in your own end.
Up next, let's find out and revisit either the best or the worst thing we've ever done on a pregame show.
Oh, no.
What?
Are you excited for this summer's World Cup coming to Dallas? I know I am. I know Luds is really excited. I mean, I can't even quantify how excited Craig Ludwig is for soccer on an international stage to be played in DFW. Well, AirDNA is the leader in data on short-term rentals, think like Airbnb, and they just released a free calculator to see how much you can make when renting out your house for this summer's World Cup. The amount of people that will be coming to Dallas and to the DFW area to see their country play or their favorite player, maybe it's Leo Messi, right? I mean, think about that. Swarming in, and they'll need places to stay, and you can cash in. What would you do? Like, think about this. Think about the brand new patio, season tickets, Epic's vacation, or actually pay for astronomically expensive World Cup tickets. All that by just simply going to airdna.co/stars and finding out more. You know that moment? The one where that feeling you get when you realize your expensive sunglasses fell into the ocean, or get crushed in a backpack, or disappear somewhere between when you were on the hiking trail and back in your car, and suddenly you're out a couple $100. Well, we have a solution for you. Shady Rays. They changed the game because these sunglasses are polarized, durable, seriously good looking, and Luds, not stupidly expensive. So here's the wild part. They have a lost and broken replacements policy. So even if you lose or break them on the first day, they'll send you a whole new pair. No guilt trip, no questions asked. And now you can wear them whether you go on the boat, on hikes, concerts, wherever. Shady Rays is eyewear that has your back. So go to shadyrays.com, use the code SRDLLS to get 40% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. All right. A little bit later, we'll talk about the Jim Nill contract extension, what happened in Toronto with Brad Treliving, what happened in Vegas with Bruce Cassidy and John Tortorella, and we will finish our show, I think, if we have enough time. We're going to look at the playoff races both sides because gotten a little bit more spicy in the last few days, and I think these next 2.5 weeks are going to be very, very entertaining for hockey fans. But first, as I teased before, on Sunday, Stars played a second half of a back-to-back. Their final back-to-back of the season against the Philadelphia Flyers after beating the Penguins in Pittsburgh on Saturday afternoon. And so I brought up the fact that Dallas had a pretty good record the second night of back-to-backs, and chaos ensued. Stars playing tonight, second half of a back-to-back against the Philadelphia Flyers. How about this, guys? Sam, this is 12 of 12 back-to-backs.
You're done.
And that'll be it. But
Did
the
it.
Stars coming into tonight after finally getting off the schneid and beating a team for the first time in 5 games, beating the Penguins yesterday, they are 8-3 on the second night of a back-to-back in their first 11 this
How many
year.
of those games has Casey played in?
That I would have
Shouldn't
to
that
do
be on the
some-
tip of your tongue if you're going to bring up that stat?
No, I didn't have that. I have first
Would you
game
imagine
stats
I'm
and
gonna
he's
second
played
guess-
game
in
stats.
80% of them?
I would
Maybe
guess
more?
maybe more. Yeah. I can think of one. I think that Jake played.
Yeah, and
Go back
I
to the
think
second
that's I mean, right off the bat, just with your stat, 8-3, you said that's a testament to Casey. I mean, he's been great all year long.
You
But
want to do this live?
Yeah.
I've got these right here, the
Do the math.
schedule, but do you have the Casey's game log? We could just burn 5 minutes of us looking up a stat.
well,
on the
if
air.
I'm sitting on that side of the camera, I'd be going, well, shouldn't you guys have known this before?
Don't you guys,
even
I didn't
brought
have
Did
this
you
the
up?
stat.
happen to look this up?
I didn't have this.
I didn't know what the question was.
I didn't either. I was just going to
Well,
say.
you asked the question.
No, I said they are 8-3.
Okay, I was responding to it.
you came up
that's
with
a backup
another layer.
goaltender, and you should
Okay.
be able to go, well, I know that, Luds. I
Starting
know
in the
exactly
beginning
what
of
the
the year.
number
October
is.
26th at
I'm just trying to
Nashville.
talk as long
Okay.
as I possibly can. so that
Seattle,
these two
November 9th. That's the
clowns
home
can
one.
figure
okay?
it out.
Seattle, 26th of
We're doing
November.
this in
Okay?
real time right now.
December 3rd at New Jersey.
No, that was.
So, anyways,
Okay?
Ryan,
'Cause
what's
he
going
played
on
against
across the
Madison
street
Square
there
Garden.
tonight?
That's
at
when
House of
Sagan
Blues?
got hurt.
Any
Okay.
idea?
Anaheim, December
They
19th.
got something going on
Yes.
over there.
Okay. Chicago, January
I was
1st.
cutting trees at midnight two
Nope.
nights ago. That wasn't
Okay.
a good thing to do.
He played New Year's Eve.
yeah, I got scars. to show
January
it.
7th at
Yes.
Washington.
Well, we were
Okay.
having,
January
cocktails
13th
at-
at Anaheim.
Yes.
it was
Okay.
that long day
January
off we had.
23rd versus St. Louis.
So,
Okay.
anyway.
March 3rd at
But
Calgary.
besides that, everything else is good. You?
Vegas,
Family
the
good, Ryan?
22nd.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm doing
Okay.
pretty well.
And
Yeah.
then,
Let me
of
look
course,
up
this one.
House of Blues tonight.
So
Yeah.
So he played 9.
this will be 9.
So 9.
So 8 so
Oh,
far.
Oh, you guys got it already?
Wait,
Okay.
what's the math there, Ryan? What is 9 of 12?
No, 8 of 12. 8 of 11. He hasn't played. This is
Well,
this
it's
will
about
be.
to. So 9 of 12. What would that be?
75%.
You were close.
I said 80.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
good.
You were pretty close.
See how
yeah.
quick we just did that?
Yeah, I know.
Professional. We didn't
the
even
folks,
use
the
5
folks
minutes.
listening, if,
Oh,
they,
we're
if they
live?
haven't hung up already,
I didn't even know we were on the show
they
here.
had no clue that what was going
I
on.
can't wait. I haven't opened the chat yet. I can't wait.
I would like to go back. I would like somebody to go back from the beginning of that shit show and find out how many people actually dropped
Marking
off
that
by the
down.
time it
Sam
was
said
over.
that the number went up.
went up.
During that,
I think
yes.
everyone was joining. They heard, hey, you guys
Oh,
are never going to
so-
believe what these guys are talking
I just,
about.
as we were listening to that again, I meant to do it before.
All I was here in my defense, I was actually just trying to babble so you could shut up and go ahead and get the numbers.
Right, but
But
we
you
were
wanted
live.
to continue to keep talking.
So we
I
have.
was going to talk and buy you time.
So Luds with Ryan, I had to really listen closely. You brought up who's playing next door at the House of Blues. I was cutting trees at midnight. I have the scars for it.
Wait,
Why'd
I
you do
said all
that?
that?
Well, I got we were having cocktails, and then by the way, Ryan, your family good? So you went through quite the small talk. You're trying to fill
I was
it up.
trying to buy time.
I appreciate every part of that. Okay. The reason why I played all of that, notwithstanding the fact that that is abjectly hysterical, I did the math. This took a little while because there is no stats website or engine or something that does this. You have to brute force it. So I literally built a spreadsheet and I put in everything that you would need on all 12 of these games. So Stars are done with back-to-backs. We mentioned Minnesota. They've got 2 more on their slate.
Yep.
Maybe one of the good things for Dallas is 5 home games, no back-to-backs.
They're great in back-to-backs, though.
But no. What I mean is easy travel or
Yes.
something. So Dallas finished this year 8-3-1 in their second games of back-to-backs. And Luds, your question was, how many of those has Casey played? And the answer is 9. That's 75% of the games.
Hold on.
Jake's played
Can we
in
go
3.
through them again?
Yes, let's do it. One by one, we'll do it live. So it did the numbers. Let's take a look at what they actually boil down to. Casey DeSmith, 6-2-1 record, 1.90 goals against
Jeez.
average, 9.29 save percentage. Jake Oettinger, only 3, right? So again, 25% of the games because he typically would play the first game. 2-1 record, 2.05 goals against, 9.18 save percentage, and 1 shutout, which was the game in New Jersey. Put those together,
That's damn good.
And they had a team, the two goalies combined for a 913 goals against and a 927 save percentage as a collective goaltending group. That doesn't count any empty net situations toward the end. Stars in back-to-backs on the second night averaged 3.25 goals for per game, 2.00 goals against. Power play 20.6%, penalty kill 83.3%. And I showed Luds all of this before, and it goes right back to what he said on Sunday, which is this is a testament to Casey DeSmith.
If this was in Montreal, and what Montreal does every month, I believe it is, every segment, they do the Molson Cup Awards. You know, they present a Molson Cup for whoever has the best, whatever it may be. And then at the end of the year, whoever has the most segments end up being Molson Cup winner. And then I think they put their name on that, and I don't know where the hell it goes, but Casey's your Molson Cup winner, like for me. He's been so consistent, and those numbers, Jake's only played 3 of those games.
That's right. This is
Casey's
almost
played
all Casey.
3 times of those games.
Yep.
And his numbers are still better than Jake's.
Yep.
This isn't about Jake.
We tried to find. I would imagine Casey's up there towards the top of the league in those numbers.
Those
are incredible.
There's no
numbers.
place
Yeah,
unless
they're
we'd have
crazy.
to like do the whole league by brute force to see how other teams' second night of back-to-backs this year, how their records line up against. Because I would say the 8-3-1 as a team is very good. And then Casey to have a 9-2-9 in 9 back-to-back
2 goals
starts.
against is crazy.
And unfortunately, what this does is it opens up that can of worms.
It does.
When you get to game 83. That, you know, and again, we kind of.
Well, they don't play back-to-backs in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, that
That's
means
nice.
he'll be well rested and be better. You know. So, but anyway, I think what it really does is it gives your coaching staff the ability to say, listen, if somebody's going sideways, here's what we got. You know, we're okay.
One thing you asked me, because I showed you the numbers before the show today, and you said, what about the shots against? And I go through it, and they are, a lot of them in the 20 to 25 range, with a couple three times 30, 128, 126. But like half of the back-to-backs, the second night, they're giving up less than 25 shots against. What does that say to you?
That to me is about the defensive structure that the coaching staff has tried to implement this year. And we're still seeing some things, but those things that we're seeing a lot of times is an individual that made a certain mistake. Because you're going to play in this system, just like the other system that they used to play. You have to be certain spots, you have to do certain things. And so, you know, and again, I think it's taken time from the beginning of the year for a lot of these guys that were programmed and now they needed to be deprogrammed, then reprogrammed. And that's not an easy thing when you're playing where, yep, I got Sam. I'm just going to stay with Sam wherever he goes. Now there's a little bit more read and things like that. So yeah, I do believe it's to the system because, again, when you play man on man, you open up pockets of the ice. When another team wants to come in, I go back to a Nelson goal against Colorado. There was a pick in that particular game. It was a playoff game that everybody was crying it's a penalty. I don't think it was. It was just a really good play. But that's how those things open up when you play that kind of way. So, but when you do play the proper way, and when you when you beat your guy in front of you, when you play man to man and you're the opponent, now all of a sudden you see daylight to the goaltender. Now you're like, well, geez, there's another guy here. That's not the way it used to be here. So I think that's really helped them in that area, and all the numbers and the goaltending, and the goaltenders aren't facing as many point blank breakaway chances because everybody else that didn't make the mistake, they're looking at their guy looking the total opposite way. That's just what the system does. Now there's people around that can help. Now, Jake there are times I will say, and I almost seem to that want to do it once a night. Jake may be going, I think I kind of want to go back to man on man because there's guys in front of me that are trying to, tip pucks and I can't see around it and things like that. But that just comes with the territory. So we'll see if this all plays out in the playoffs and that kind of thing. So. But I do think that's what the whole process was. That's what the new coaching staff wanted to do. Another good question maybe I should ask Jim Nill. Man, I should just ask everybody else to lead. Yeah, I should just ask everybody. Holly,
just
Newendike,
one-on-one.
Mr. Glardy, just everybody lead.
Just one-on-one.
I just want Jim.
When people say hybrid in the defensive zone, what does that mean?
Well, what happens is the defenseman will stay home, and then the 3 forwards can kind of switch off it. There'll be times where you'll take 1 forward, and then he may kind of follow a certain guy around, but the other 2 kind of stay here. So you got at least 4 guys.
Man on man up top a little bit.
Exactly. And so I'm not a fan of that, but it's better than the other one. Okay. So and my whole thing is I want the defenseman to be where the defenseman from 7 years old were playing. That's where they are. Forwards, you guys played at the other end of the rink in front of that net. When you get in front of the net at the other end of the rink, you're not, and I don't blame them. That's not where they grew up playing. Yeah. And so it's a different kind of, not that they can't, there's teams that strive in that, but they can all skate like mad. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so they're able to stay ahead of people, and they're such good skaters that allows that. But when you have guys like Bischel and Myers that they're so big, you don't want to have to chase guys over, especially if a guy Wyatt size. I mean, you can't cover Wyatt man on man. You know, you got to give him some space, and when you give him space, that's when the little picks come in. Somebody skates in between you and him, and you're following him. Now an opponent skates between me, and now I got to kind of back off a little bit, and that buys a second for a guy like Wyatt to get in there. So, you know, it's each, you know, they can, I mean, again, I think that's part of what a coach's job is. Here's the kind of players we have. I don't know about that system, but this system we can play.
Totally.
So,
can you tell he's a little passionate about the subject? But anyway, a ridiculous, goofy pregame show moment turned into a wonderful segment highlighting Stars really good on second night of back-to-backs. Both goalies excellent. Casey, incredible numbers. And they are plus 15 in goal differential in those 12 games. Just think of it. That's why their team is so good and why they have the record they have. All right, up next, let's talk about Jim Nill. Let's look at the playoff picture and get our final segment of today's Wednesday DLS Stars Pod.
It's Wednesday.
If you love the NFL Draft, then this is your edge. The Die Hard NFL Draft Guide is built and based off of thousands of hours of film study, being boots on the ground, Shrine Bowl, Senior Bowl, Combine, talking to scouts, talking to coaches, really getting a feel for where these players are best going to fit and project in the NFL. And we're talking hundreds of players in this class.
Cowboy fans, you got to have access to Fran Duffy's Die Hard Draft Guide because he knows exactly what the Cowboys are looking for and has in-depth scouting reports on everybody that can help this team. So help yourself and be informed about the NFL Draft. Make sure you got Fran's Draft Guide.
All right, so what are you going to find in the guide? Well, you're going to find player comps. You're going to find strengths, weaknesses, physical tools, analytics, highlights, analysis from all across the space, everything you need to try and determine who are the best players for your team. You get access to the guide if you're a diehard, and you'll also get access to a couple of individual breakdowns I'm doing specifically for your team. All right, look, if you want surface level breakdowns, you can get them anywhere, but if you want independent thought, if you want thorough breakdowns on all of these prospects, become a diehard, get the guide. Or you can get access to the 2026 guide for just $26. Let's win draft season.
well, Tanner, I think we should start with the Wyatt Johnston. Let's start with the new shirt, the sharpshooter one. And the reason I'm going to start with Wyatt, it seems like every time we talk about power play goals, Wyatt can go out and score a power play goal. But
25.
Here, what I'm hoping for is that shirt to come up so I can kind of move on from this one. But apparently Tanner can't find the right button. Do you want me to just paint it? I can paint it. Oh, there we go. Well, let's pull them both up. We'll pull up the Robo and Wyatt. So let's start with Wyatt. I am pulling up Wyatt because I think there's 7 games to go. I would like to see Wyatt, yes, get another power player goal too, but I would like to see him get at least 3 5-on-5 goals in the next 7 games.
45 goals?
Yeah. I just want him to put a 5-on-5 goal in because I want him to get the confidence that he can score 5-on-5. We know he has it on the power play. Robo, just continue to play the way you're doing, shoot the puck, and you do your things. And then I do think that we got to pull up Jake Oettinger because we know as this thing comes down the stretch and we get in the playoffs, the Otter is going to have
Tanner's
to be the
wearing
Otter
that shirt.
that we know. And yes, well, I was just going to say,
Rocking
Tanner,
that
please
today.
stand
Tanner's
up.
rocking
And
it.
he's wearing
Tanner's
that
wearing
shirt.
a Star shirt.
Those are the 3 people I want to talk about right now. And then I would say finish Mafia, but my time is over. But we need the one other Finn to get back so the Mafia is complete.
Yes. Tanner's got a Star shirt on. Sam's got a Star shirt on. John Anderson, R.I.P., has a Star shirt on.
Still alive.
Owen's over
You
here.
know why?
Owen's over here
You know
wearing
what
a
you
Luka
call those
shirt.
people? You call them bandwagoners because none of them are in the playoffs.
That's true.
Right? We're the only team in the playoffs.
Yep.
They got nothing.
I'm wearing the shirt of a non-playoff team right
Yeah,
now.
well,
Yep.
Why?
You are.
Yeah.
Yep.
You
Okay.
guys switched today. Normally he's got the team logo on.
So in the final segment, I want to do an update on the playoff races in both conferences. But before we do, let's talk briefly about Jim Nill because we did a pseudo emergency pod. I think I was really pleasant and not at all crabby about it. But Jim Nill signed a 2-year contract extension yesterday. But we actually have some new updates because he didn't actually sign a 2-year contract extension yesterday. The team just announced it yesterday. Sam, you found out a little bit more as Jim Nill's contract was slated to end after this season. Now he will be under contract as the Stars general manager through the 27-28 season.
Yes. I think this is on the ticket. Hardline, maybe? I always forget the name of which shows
Afternoon?
they have. But
I think it might have been the sweet spot.
Maybe the sweet spot. Whatever. He was on the ticket, and they asked him specifically, about the contract extension. He was obviously talking about his family's here, and he loves it here, and he wants to make sure he finished what he started. But the question they asked specifically was if the stuff that came up about Toronto firing their GM and all the stuff going on, and is Jim a candidate? Did that have anything to do with the announcement? And Jim said, they started talking in August. They were never worried. Him and Tom Glardy were never worried about this getting done. They had the full plan in place. And they started talking again in January, February. Tom was actually at the Olympics, but I didn't know that, over in Milan with Jim Nill. So they were talking again there. About 3 weeks ago, they got this thing worked out. And it sounded like, he didn't say this straight up, but it sounded like the plan was not to announce it until the end of the season. Just no reason to. Just
right?
Let's wait till the playoffs. And then this stuff started coming up with Toronto and rumors and things like that.
Tell everybody why with Toronto. What happened?
Well, Toronto fired their GM, Brad Treliving.
Not plural.
Yeah, you like that?
I do.
That was good. And so immediately, you start thinking like, well, who are they going to replace him with, and why they do it now, and all this kind of stuff. And people, for whatever reason, rumors started coming up that, hey, Jim Nill may be a good candidate. No reason for it necessarily. There was nothing about him leaving Dallas or anything like that.
But his name started to be connected.
Rich
with
Peverly getting promoted, just last week to assistant GMs. Maybe that had something that kind of led into there. And Jim Nill said, look, because of that, Tom and I discussed it, and we said, let's announce this now. Let's save Tom's phone from ringing off the hook. Let's save all these teams from calling us. Our office is getting all these phone calls and all these emails and all this stuff.
He did the Luds.
Took away the distraction.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. He took away the distraction, and he even said, we didn't want any of that. We wanted the focus to be on the team right now, pushing for the playoffs. So it's just another reason that Jim Nill goes up to the top of the list in my mind and in so many people's minds, is not just in the NHL as a GM, but across all the leagues. I mean, you don't have to go far. Look at Owen Shirt if you want to look at GMs that don't do a good job. But you look at you look at Jim Nill and what he's done, and he wants nothing to take away from this team playing well and trying to win a Stanley Cup. And I just thought that was interesting to kind of take that and pull it away from him and make sure there was no focus and no distraction as they head to the playoffs.
Luds, what do you think about the Stars general manager, Jim Nill, having the awareness that he needed to do this, not because he wanted to pump his own tires, but to save a major media distraction from his organization as they get closer to the playoffs?
Because distractions are killers.
Nice catch.
And yeah, they're killers. and I think the last thing you want is to go into the playoffs, especially with the way the team, I'll say, isn't playing up to what they are expecting. Why lump onto that? Me personally, I personally don't think Toronto is Jim's style. I just don't. And I have no idea. It doesn't seem like Jim loves flying under the radar. He's quiet. He does his work, it seems like, behind the scenes. You never know anything. Toronto, you're in a fishbowl.
And why would he leave Dallas?
What you have to do is you've done everything with this team where you, for the last 3-4 years, whatever you want to say, and maybe for the next couple of years, you're knocking on that door. You're knocking on the big door. You're knocking on the really big door to get in. Why would you want to go back? And then whether they want to call it a retool or rebuild, and in that conglomeration that they have, I listened to Pella yesterday and the CEO and the whole press conference of this stuff.
What'd you take away from that?
I don't. It's kind of what ultimately happened, and I'm not saying this, but other people are saying this, is what was going on. Is it got out that they were looking for a new general manager, and it got back to Tree
before it was announced that they were firing.
This was a couple weeks ago, and Tree went in and said, "Listen, I hear it. It's cool. I'd like to stay on and all this other kind of stuff. But if that's the case, then pull the trigger. Like, let's just pull the trigger, and then everybody can just move on.
Yeah,
and you can get out in front of that and that kind of stuff. And now they're going to go through the process, and their biggest thing I get out of the whole thing is." They are data-driven. The exact words. We are data-driven. In other words, analytics. And again, I think a lot of people are going that. So they want somebody that's his gig. Or they bring the guy in that's going to be his gig. And I don't know if that's Jim Nill, but that sounds like Mark Janko.
It almost sounds like Eric Tulsky, doesn't it?
Maybe that would sound those two. Well, no, for sure. But I think that guy.
No.
That guy's dialed in.
I'm saying somebody like Tulsky, not Tulsky specifically.
So
but
anyway, with
like
that being said, I think Jim, he's put everything into this. You know, this is his first kick at the can as being the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's put
13
years into this thing. And he's got a couple Stanley Cups, right? He was an assistant in Detroit. But that's not like winning it when you're the guy that's driving the
especially because he built this team.
Exactly.
Right. This is
exactly.
He changed the they changed everything, the uniforms, the players, the roster, everything.
And can he not win a fourth one? I mean, I don't know. You know, I'm gonna guess. Well, I don't know if the guy can win one for Columbus and for Buffalo as far as GM of the Year awards. But I mean, I think Jarmo might be up for that this year. But I don't know.
Oh, you're talking about winning a fourth GM of the Year award.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
I'm talking about the GM of the Year award.
I'm just glad you brought up what you said about the stuff leaking out to Treliving, because guess what? Jim Nill and everyone, that doesn't happen here.
Oh, no, never.
You don't hear anything.
Yeah.
And we try.
That's
try to
what
get
I'm saying.
stuff out. He is
to
quiet.
go and work in that environment.
Yeah.
I just don't think that
doesn't
Jim
fit.
Nill.
And I just love how he does his business.
That's a respect factor of the people that work underneath Jim for Jim.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Team effort, for sure.
Not getting,
and everybody knows how Jim treats everybody there. You know, it's not a business. You know, it's a family there. And so I think everything's happy. His wife likes, you know, everybody's happy here. And again, it'd be different, wouldn't it, if he was in Vancouver. And this is going to be a project for the next 6 years. But like I said, there's a really good team here, and there's a great fan base here, and he ownership, the whole 9 yards, top to bottom.
And why would you ever leave, assuming he's got a few years left, probably before he retires?
Yeah.
Why would you ever go to Toronto?
No, that's my point.
Right. Like last couple of years,
I mean,
you know what? Let's go relax in Toronto.
The only way I would say that, Sam, is and I don't know, I don't have any basis for this other than what if it was for being money whipped? If Toronto said, well, you're making so-and-so here, we'll double it.
I don't know this, but I imagine
they have plenty of money. Pockets, right?
I got a funny feeling.
I don't think
Jim is not the guy that's going out and buying Ferraris and stuff.
Well, I don't think honestly, I don't think that he needs.
He drives a Prius.
I just think that they're all set.
That was a joke.
And I mean, I do think that Doug Armstrong is probably on the top of the list or near the top of the list. Whether Army wants to do it, or if St. Louis is going to allow him to leave because there is something that in there. But again, I think they respect Army enough. If he should want to do it, Army may. But I do think that would be something Army would want to do.
Let's connect real quick with what's going on, because Barry Trotz is stepping down after this year. So Nashville's been in full-on GM search mode. This definitely causes some chaos because now Toronto, I'm not saying that Nashville or Toronto, I'm not saying which one I would rather have, but there's obviously a lot of attention around the Maple Leafs, but those are two big jobs. And then, as just the other day, Bruce Cassidy gets fired as the head coach of the Vegas Golden Knights, and they replace him with John Tortorella. It's the kind of headline. I was talking with our old producer, John Anderson, earlier, saying this felt like a headline out of The Onion. Like it's like the made up for satire purposes, because this is a playoff team in Vegas. And yet, Luds, there is history, including with one of your old teammates going to New Jersey right before the playoffs.
Well, it
has happened before.
It was the distraction thing. There was so much negativity with the players to the coach
in Vegas.
And they actually, and this is what I found funny about it. They brought in Torts, and the first thing that they apparently said to him is, we need some positivity spread here with this team. And this is going from Torts. I'm like, okay. So anyway, but Torts comes out, does his press conference. He says, you know what? I'm not doing any of this stuff. I'm here for 8 games. And then we're going to see where we go. The management wants positivity here, and apparently, but now he's got a relationship with their best player, right? He was
from
on
the Olympics
bench with Eichel, and so that's probably a good start. And again, for Tortorella, he may be going, well, you know what? This wouldn't be a bad place to coach. Let me be positive for a little while, and then maybe I get a 2-year extension. Then I can be the dick that I always have been to all these guys. So, but I do think he may just be that guy. And again, he says he's not going to change a lot. And again, even coming from Kelly McCrimmon, it was more that the general manager is that it's just things weren't clicking. You could tell that players were frustrated. We have good players. We have a good team. And there was just that cloud. And again, they're used to the cloud. Wasn't that the Pete DeBoer thing with the spear through,
That was with Marc-Andre Fleury's agent.
So they're used to that. And again, they kind of bring it upon themselves. They bring in players and sign them to 5 years and trade them after 2.
We're not going to do it today, Sam, but Pete DeBoer, Bruce Cassidy are both available, very accomplished head coaches. And I think a fun exercise, maybe even before the playoffs start, we look at some of the teams that if they do or do not make it to the playoffs might be looking for a new head coach. Because I know we're almost out of time.
You're saying Pete is going to get hired here if the Stars don't win the cup?
Well, the funny thing is that Pete did an interview with the NHL.com after the Cassidy firing, and he even said, well, it's probably not going to be me there going back to
I can
Vegas.
imagine.
Wouldn't that be something?
Pete doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that returns somewhere.
You're saying that the Bridges don't necessarily
I think
always
he takes a
get
lot
burned
out
a
of
little
where he
bit?
goes.
Yeah.
Great coach, but
So-
he takes a lot out.
Tanner, I know we're almost out of time, but let's take a look at the playoff races really quickly here. Start in the West, and we'll look at the divisional standings, which is number 1. As you can see, we already talked about the Central. I think that's going to be how it ends up. In the West,
Look where the X is.
Luds, Anaheim, Edmonton, Vegas. Is that your top 3 in some order at the end of the season?
Not necessarily for me. I think Winnipeg, I'm telling you.
Well, no. Hold on. Just division. Look
At
at
that
graphic one more time.
As far as the Pacific? No.
Yes.
Not the Pacific.
What do you see?
Nothing.
In the Pacific?
I don't know anything about the Pacific.
Okay.
They're winning, losing. Torts might sink that ship.
Okay, so go to the second West one here. There's the first one. So there's the second one. All right, Luds. Utah. I'm pretty confident Utah's a playoff team.
Yeah, they got enough lead.
What
They're
about
there.
the stack of teams that are within 4 points of each other?
San Jose has got to run the table. So what are the odds of that happening?
San Jose has
The
two
one
games
for
in hand,
me
though.
is Winnipeg. That's the one for me. I mean, LA's got a game in hand, yes, but they're kind of. I mean, Panarin's doing his thing there, but I don't know if they make the playoffs. I don't know what they do. It's probably one and done again.
You're talking about the Kings?
I'm talking about the Kings.
Yeah.
So I mean, I would be concerned. I'm not concerned because it really doesn't have anything to do with Dallas in the first round. But I mean, again, if the Jets, who knows? I mean,
There's like 6 teams that could end up playing Colorado in the first round.
Crazy.
Okay, let's look at the East. First in the divisions, again, Buffalo
Talk about
first.
stacked.
Buffalo and Carolina both get to 100. Tampa, Montreal, Luds. I've been really impressed with what they've done down the stretch to stay in that spot and not drop down into the fray. But if you look at the Metro, Pittsburgh, couple big wins, Islanders, and then look at this wild card scene because it's a mess, right? Boston has done a really good job. It's more about the wild card in the Metropolitan Division because you have Columbus who could easily jump back up into third, and then
Isn't Boston Atlantic?
yes,
So they could jump up.
they
in
could
Montreal
catch
as
Montreal
well.
for sure.
They're only
But
2
then
points
you've
back.
got Ottawa, Detroit, Philly, and Washington is not out of it after a
Crazy.
win last night. What are
Look
your
at-
thoughts?
I think if you look at Ottawa, Detroit, Philly, Washington, if they were in the West, they'd all be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Even if you went down further, there's a couple teams that could be in the playoffs.
I think
That
I'm
just
pretty sure
tells
the
you-
entire Pacific Division would not make the playoffs in
Exactly.
the East.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly where the disparity is.
Yeah.
And that doesn't really translate to about the finals either.
No.
I mean, that's a whole different
But it's going to be
animal.
fun as hell to watch those games.
Yeah,
at the end of the
that
season.
will be
That's
what
the
you're
fun
dialed
part. Is
into.
everyone's
Yep.
watching those teams because
Ottawa's in trouble because
teams
of
can jump
injuries.
from out to third in their division.
That is such compelling watching for
Yeah.
the next two
Fun.
and a half
It's like that
weeks.
year when Detroit had made that crazy comeback and almost made it in the last second. Like,
Well,
it's
remember
fun to watch.
there was a stretch, was it a couple years, was it last year or the year before where there was a line, it was like, well, these 8 teams are in and nobody has a chance.
Yeah, it was
The
it was
biggest,
just seeding.
storyline will probably, if Detroit doesn't make it, what happens to Stevie?
Oh yeah,
Does he just go upstairs? Because I think he has a dual role.
Like a clause there.
No, but I think he's president also. So could that be like a Doug Armstrong kind of thing? Because he's been driving the bus now for, I don't know what it is, 12, 13, 14 years, and they haven't had it since the playoffs. So I just wonder if that's where, instead of getting gassed, you just kind of fire yourself. Like a Bob Gainey thing. Bob Gainey was the
It's
head
like a
coach and
self-preservation.
GM,
Yeah.
and he decided,
Bring in someone on
I'm
a
not going to
day-to-day.
coach anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Smart. Why fire yourself as a general manager and get fired as a head coach? So Bo did that, and I just curious if Yzerman decides to do something, because I would have to believe in Detroit. I mean they're very Steve Yzerman fans there, but I think at some point,
10 years without making.
No, I think
Yes.
I think the natives are
That's
getting a
quite
little
bit.
restless
The Iser plan has
in Detroit because
sunk in
it's-
them.
It's going on a decade now, and it looked a month ago like they were a lock for
Yeah,
a playoff.
they've had great bursts. They just have never been able to hold it down.
All right. Well, I appreciate the overtime from Tanner today. We are good for today. And guess what? Tomorrow starts a 5-game homestand, their last of the regular season. And we thought this game would be against a team that isn't relevant in the playoff race. And suddenly Connor Hellebuck and the Winnipeg Jets are 1 point away from.
Does Tanner know that button?
I think he's looking for it.
No.
But
Do you know the Hellebuck button?
No.
No.
Thank you for turning the microphone on. Tell us that.
But unlike some of our other producers,
That was awesome.
he's happy to talk. Well, we will be back tomorrow. Luds will be doing the pre- and post-game show on location. I can only imagine what that's going to do. There he is. And we have Sam over at American Airlines Center. I'll be here scooting back and forth, and Ryan will be back. But hey, how about a quick applause for Tanner?
Yeah, thanks, Tanner.
Great job.
Thanks, Tanner.
For Craig Ludwig, Sam
Sometimes
Messler,
somebody does this
our
show
producer
right.
today, Tanner Rotman. I'm Owen Newkirk.
Ryan, you're dead to us.
Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you tomorrow night for Stars and Jets.
We all silly like the mayor.